Meetings. So last week we didn't get the demo from Dean because he didn't show up. Good job, Dean. I did down. Well, it's written down. Jasper didn't give a demo about permissions, but we talked about the PR extensively. And this week we said that we would have William at least. So demos. William, still good for that?
Yes, I'm here.
I think it was like Blazor plus
OpenID Connect. Code flow authorization.
Code flow. Authorization code. Well, which code flow you said?
Code flow authorization with Pixie. Yeah.
Blazor is the future. Using Orchard and the Blazor.
No, it's not.
So we actually got it to work with the Blazing Orchard that Submit did, so I can show it.
Oh, good.
With Blazing Orchard.
Okay, we'll see that. Who else has demos?
I've probably got a demo since I'm here this week.
That's it, Jean-Philippe? No?
I can always demo Cypress if you think it's useful. I think I demoed it in the past, but I can do it again.
You can see it run if we have time. Okay, so demos, the status, topics. So Lombiq shared a new site they made. At least share it. So status, Orchard 1, this has been merged. No, it was a long time ago, but why? 15, 27. Yeah, we saw that last week. I just didn't update my branch here. Then this one. Lots of things. 27 minus 7 is 20, 20. This one was at local time. Okay, so this one. IContentHandlerManager, IContentHandleManager. Oh, content handle. Yeah, not content. Okay, content handle, because this is a handle. Not to be confused with content handler. I was confused. Okay, good. Fixes context.Settings ref exception. Okay. Sets a background color to the media gallery based on main body background. Variable. This is coming from Bootstrap?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, so we don't use these, which actually we should. So there is a body background, interesting.
We should also use the one that comes from the admin theme in the modules, but we are not. Because those assets with Nuget package are not reachable.
I see. Interesting. Keep in sync tenant global IDs, only if tenants syncing is successful. So that is related to the distributed features. So keep in sync tenant global IDs, only if tenant syncing is successful. Okay. Async tweaks. Here, just a private accessor, same thing. Not really async tweak here. Yes, I saw that last week, but it doesn't matter much. So you can remove async await if you don't need to wait. You can just return the task directly. Mode of state, okay. And same thing here. Okay. New graphical dependency. New Nuget packages, HTML sanitizer. New code mirror makes liquid include working. So there is an include tag in liquid that allows you to include an external liquid file. And in Fluid, it's available through a file provider. And in this case, Gentry is setting the liquid file provider accessor, which will also work with modules and embedded assets. So, well, the file provider from this accessor. So now the liquid files can also embed files from modules. What should correct this config section name, because this doesn't work on Linux and this works. You can't use dots in environment variable. Fix the encoding of non-HTML strings in feed. So there was already a PR a few weeks ago we talked about, and then someone found this issue also. So when we call set element value, the text that we pass will be encoded, and this one should be encoded. So we don't need to HTML encode it. Otherwise, we get it twice encoded. And you only see the issue if you have a text that contains some encoded string. So if you're speaking English, usually you don't see that. But so here it's fixed. See everywhere here. And unit test. So do we have the unit test? No, we don't have it anymore. So that's good. Bootstrap 453. Vuedraggable. Well, you didn't change the name of the commit, but that's okay. Full text. So let me see. Let me check first. Full text. So there is Dean made a new filter. Is that what you wanted to demo?
No, not especially.
Okay.
Well,
we can see it later, so I can explain.
Use it if you like.
Yeah. So we made a filter that lets us extract the full text aspect of a content item. The full text aspect being like metadata that we can grab from any content item to represent it as full text. So we use it for the RSS feed to represent the full text of content item, like a blog post. The title will return a full text.
It's not actually the RSS feed.
No,
the
it's
RSS
like,
feed.
you're right.
It's the body.
It's the body
it's
aspect.
All about Lucene indexing.
Yeah. So the RSS feed is for the body aspect because you don't want the title in that. But this is for when you index the full text of the content item. So yes, Lucene calls into this aspect, and now this filter allows you to also access it. And the goal being to be able to define custom full text for custom content types that will themselves use the full text of sub-items. So in this case, widgets, if you have a back part and you want to make your full text comprise of every full text of the items that you have in the back part, you can you can do a for each on all the items in the back part and then call into their full text to provide it. And I'm wondering, should we do it automatically, or doesn't it do that automatically? Like a back part will implement the handler and just say, why don't we do it automatically? You didn't think about it, Dean? Or I mean, it's independent from that, but I mean, we could say that when we want the full text of a back part, then we just call recursively all the full text for each item in a back part. No opinion.
Sorry, what was the question? I had to step away for a minute.
If you have a back part, why isn't the back part handler implementing the full text aspect such that it will provide the content items full text?
There's a couple of reasons. And we might look at the bag part implementing perhaps the body aspect at some point. But because this is driven through the UI, it gives you control, like quite easy control over not only the bag part itself, but then the items that are in the bag part. So you may have like 3 bags on a content item, and if they all implement the full text aspect, then you're going to end up with perhaps things that you don't want in the loose-end index. So this was the easier way to give you the flexibility to choose what you're looking for in your index and what you don't.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I'm wondering if that makes sense. Or maybe if if we should have the 2 or a parameter on the aspect like recursive, not recursive. And that will be explicit. No, I want everything, or I just want. Because when you ask the full text on a content item, you will get all the parts that will give something. Title, the body, or anything. No?
Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 options. You've got, I want the title, I want the body aspect, or I want a custom full text aspect.
When we call full text aspect, not with a filter, what parts return something?
The no parts return anything.
It's just
they
because
return
you
body
checked.
aspect. The full text aspect itself looks for a body aspect on parts. So technically, an HTML body part will return a body aspect, as will a markdown body part.
Does it return
but the aspect itself is actually building itself from other aspects.
Is because it's checked in the settings, or even if or there is no settings for that for the body?
No, if it's checked in the settings.
Okay, something like that. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, so we could even have actually a check for because it's the other way around. The aspect will look for the body, so you can't say that the part has to provide the back part has to provide it. Okay, no, that's okay. Opt-in, everything is opt-in. So this is also opt-in. You define which ones you want. Okay, good. Steven, match installing of predefined list with other fields. Okay, so removing this char, this big hyphen, mkdocs, revision date localized string, localized plugin, then make filter bar and content type sticky on top. So content types. So we saw last week, I think, a PR that was making it sticky for the list of features. So when you scroll down on the list of features, the top filter is sticky, so always appears. It doesn't move. And now there are many more PRs to do the same thing for other screens. In this case, content types, content parts, and more will come, I assume. We didn't talk about the global solution, but I haven't played with that. Do you feel good with having that on more screens, or should these screens be changed in a way to add, for instance, paging? Because it's either paging or that, or dynamic paging, like when you scroll down, it reloads stuff, but it's harder to implement. So I'm not sure which solution is the best, or if one solution is bad. I know that it's hard to implement the infinite scrolling. It's not really nice also for accessibility. So this is a solution. Paging itself is another solution, actual paging. So feel free to say if you think there are issues with that. You see here now users, tenants.
I quite like the solution that they came up with there. It's quite similar to DevOps, like Azure DevOps as well. Like those lists, like the context parts and context types, can get quite long, but they don't really suit paging because then you have to really search quite hard for the things that you want to see. So the filter bar is a nice, simple solution.
Better responsive behavior. It's a Canadian who wrote it, or English. It's given. Belgium, I think, right? Better responsive behavior for DateField. And I saw people commenting on this one, so it has been reviewed. Responsive behavior for DateField, responsive behavior for NumericField. That's good. Bootstrap CSS, new code mirror. Again, like every day we've got a new code mirror. Let me see. Did I go back in time? No, that's weird. Listing code owners. So that's big change actually. So the idea is that now when you go on the docs, I tested it and I was not happy with the result. I will show you why. And I think someone complained. So I think Jean-Philippe said that we lost some data, or was it Matthias maybe? I don't know, someone said we lost some data because we moved some files and then we lost the history of the file. So if you take a page like this one and you go at the bottom, Antoine used this plugin to list all the committers on this file. Super useful. That's it. That's what it does. All the committers based on the Git history on this file with their nice names. Where is the name coming from?
GitHub.
The GitHub public data that you put on your commit, probably. Okay, with the account.
Yeah, and this is coming from the change I made about mkdocs, but not the listing code owners is something else.
Okay, I thought it was that. Okay. Oh, this is okay. The files.
Yeah.
Oh, the different folders. For each folder, you can provide a user account. And then when a change or PR is related to that folder, then these users will be associated to the PR.
Yeah.
And probably
in the resources, there is a owners page in the docs.
Okay. We made that too. So we have to maintain that. I'm super happy that I just maintain just external things. Jean-Philippe, localization, Hisham. Hisham doesn't care about localization. Oh yes, okay, you can put to RTL, translation by OpenID. I would have said authentication. It's a different, it's a more specific matter. Same thing, Nick would be super happy to just be responsible for GraphiQL. Here is still one of the main contributors. Then you can put, yeah, where is Chantieri? It's funny what you. It's like anyone can decide who puts what there. You decide it this way, and that's. So if people are not happy with where they are, they can provide a pull request to change it. What does Dean do? Azure, media, shortcodes, sitemap, taxonomies.
Oh, I think we should move taxonomies back to you, Sebastian.
No, you were the last to change, and you made the big sub taxonomies work. I remember when I wrote it, the first version of the taxonomies. Bertrand, do you remember when I demoed it the first time I demoed it? I remember in Unit 42. That's great. And I was not actually working in the US because I wrote it while I was in Canada. So I just arrived in the team. And then I went to a meeting in the US to work with the team because I was working remotely. And then I showed it.
Yeah, that's another feature that we stole from Drupal.
Yeah, yep. And that and the views, what the projection modules in Orchard 1.3 that we call
the general idea of shapes
everything
pretty much comes from Drupal.
Everything comes from Drupal.
The content type structure, yeah.
But the best two features from Drupal, taxonomies and views, which were called projections in Orchard 1, and we don't have in Orchard Core. But what do we have in Orchard Core for that? Custom templates? No, we don't. No queries plus templates. We don't have anything special. Yep. Okay, good. Lucas part. Okay, great. Code owners. And I was saying this one, so we'll see later. I will come back there. Update menu item according to its current type definition. Trying to find a change here. So existing. Don't know what it does. It's current type definition. I think it's a bad word. Existing. I don't know what it has. We trust Chantieri and whoever matched the.
It was not persisting any fields added to a link menu item.
Oh, because we were losing data because it wasn't the correct type. Okay. And submerge. Interesting. Okay. That's weird that he did something like this. Add authors in docs. That's this one. Okay. So now with this PR format one, we get the authors here. There is a bad comma here at the end. So minor issue. And you also get the last update, May 28. Interesting. And yeah, I was so sad because I'm pretty sure I made this guide. This is my best contribution to Orchard. I'm not even listed as an author. So sad. So the explanation is that we moved the file from one folder to the other, and I assume it didn't note or record that it was just a file change, but like a new file.
It's weird because it was somehow working locally. I had more authors.
I'm sure if you look at the history of this file, we'll understand that only that appears. That's the one I checked. Like, am I listed there? Because I remember I did that. And I was like, nope. But okay, that's okay. This is script. This is Jasmine. All right, for instance, Jasmine, this is you, right? You did that page because look at the screenshots.
I don't remember doing documentation.
What? No, that's you, right?
Yeah,
so that's you, and you see Dean Pierre Grimaud. Who is that? So I don't remember the username of Pierre Grimaud.
Maybe
Sounds
it's like
like
me.
Sounds like a Canadian name. Maybe that's your pseudonym?
No, not even close.
That's your name on GitHub. Okay, so we'll see. If we can just take these two examples, just to see, to understand why those names appear. Dean makes sense. He touched everything. Okay, so that might make sense. But not seeing
I only changed one comma. I shouldn't.
Maybe. But not seeing Jasmine here or myself when I wrote or maybe because we created the file. I don't know. Maybe there's a bug. I don't know. It would be interesting to understand. But it's a good feature. If we could also have maybe a link to the GitHub account, that would be great. Because sometimes, like if I look for PR remote, I have no idea how I can find.
Yeah, but by default, it's the email. So it's a bit weird because it's a personal email.
I'm sure we can change that to the GitHub account. If they have the name, we have the GitHub alias, so we can change that. But well, you did that at least. That's good. It authors. So yeah, probably an issue with moving files around. It happens.
In the main.html, there is a template.
It's liquid.
It's
liquid.
Jinja 2.
No. Shh. It's liquid. Well, okay. It's more than liquid. But liquid. No, I'm sure Jinja is inheriting from liquid. So you see author name, git info. So you have author.name. So I'm sure you have the. I see what you mean, because it's Git information, it's not GitHub information. So maybe you'd have to check what properties are available and if they have the Git username. I see. Interesting. GitHub. Include partial integration, discuss. Yeah, I think this could be removed. Must be integrated, adding some scripts, but we don't have that. We don't support comments and documentation. Might be interesting to have comments and documentation. Might be more work after, but on PHP, for instance, this is one of the best features of PHP. The doc they have. I remember from 50 years ago when I was doing PHP that you would get lots of details on the documentation on the page and more examples on the discussions.
Is there any way you can remove the trailing comma in the list of photos?
I'm sure you can do an if or something different. Like for instance, in Liquid, if Jinja inherits from Liquid, there is a thing to do that.
Like
because here,
use a separator instead of just.
Yeah, and in the loop also there is a. When you're on a loop, there is a property that says .last. So if you say if .last, then or something like that. So this one could be inside a if. And just because, so Shopify Liquid, Shopify Liquid. So let me show you because it's super interesting and not people know about it. So iteration. Else break, continue. 4. So 4 item in a list. So you can limit the list first. So you could say offset, okay, or -1, things like this. And then you have access to, so this one also super interesting, cycle, and you give a list of properties, an array. And every time we call cycle, it will take 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So super useful. So it's like iterating, but taking one after the other, and then again and again. So if you want to do like 3 colors background, one after the other, you just call this statement again and again in your loop. So super useful. Where is the index stuff?
Maybe you should do a join or something instead of a for loop.
I think you can use
a join.
I think you can use
that. So you should use that. You can use that if you want. So you do if for loop dot last equal true or not last equal true. can do that. And there are many things to do. For loop.index, index 0, so it's 0 based, last, length. So there are helpers to do things like this in Liquid. So you can check if it's the last item, for instance. If for loop.last equals true, you say equals false. Then you put the comma. I love these little things. There are multiple things like this, like the array as the dot first to get the first element. So we don't. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So that's here. I'm sure we'll see it at the top. Docs custom themes. Okay. Locale shortcode. So Jean-Philippe made a new shortcode. Is that what you wanted to show? Cypress, no, Cypress. This shortcode, not a filter, a shortcode. And we have documentation. So when you use it, it will text whatever the text is between the tags and only display it if the current culture is the one you asked for. So in this case, you say, write this text for the English culture and write this text for the French culture. Okay, and it supports also culture fallback. So if you type ENCA, well, if your culture is ENC and you have that line, then it will write for the EN. It will fall back to EN. Okay, so super useful. It's not content localization. It's just text localization that you want to use in your templates. So that, thank you, Jean-Philippe. Implement missing form, select part and options. Oh, missing. Nothing is missing, it's just to be done. Select part and options in the forms module. Select parts. We didn't have that. Interesting. Do you know what's missing still? Are there any big pieces that we are missing?
That was the only one that was missing. We had the part, but no views or editors for it. So people had kind of implemented their own by adding bag parts, all bits and pieces. This one might also still need an opt group editor. I didn't do that.
Select part
for it.
Just trying to, so that's the view. Select options, default value. Text value. Text. Okay, and it's just you encode it actually in the view, so it can't be HTML. Okay, yeah, just thinking if it can be how it could be extended. That's okay. Good, thank you. Class IDs to buttons to allow for end-to-end testing. So more classes everywhere. So we can select these buttons, these actions for testing. And Jean-Philippe will show us. Make recipes action bar sticky, recipes, okay. Keep value of NumericField in sync when slider was clicked instead of dragged, okay. Someone using these fields and making them beautiful because there must have been some little bugs. Better content type than checking index providers. Ooh. Or when types change, and I see, or removed, I see. A type might not be found if I see. If you delete a content type, okay. So better type management. Good job. This can occur when content items because of particularly layer widgets when a layer is removed before its widgets have been unpublished. Oh, this is orphan. But I don't understand. What's the relationship with content type and layers?
So this is something that Script came across, and I've come across a few times in a recent site I was building, where because layer widgets are stored in the database as published or latest, you can they can become orphaned quite easily, and then you change the content type definition for this thing that's already in the database, and you get weird errors from the taxonomy provider when you're doing deployments because it's getting picked up and moved to the other server. So it mostly happens when you're trying to save or resave old data.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's when
which is why they picked up.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably look at fixing the layers bit as well, but it also came up on the user ID stuff when we were looking at some of the migrations for that, resaving old content where the content type definition doesn't exist anymore. So it's rare, but it's just difficult to track down why it's happening.
Yeah, NumericField index provider. Yeah, I don't think it's related to layer. I think the comment is misleading here. That's okay. It's just a comment. Something can go orphan from the content type. The layer itself. Okay. Theme extensibility. What is that? What does it do? I didn't see this PR.
It's the dark mode. Dark mode.
Oh, the PR has been merged? I didn't see that. Oh, yesterday? That's why maybe I did.
Yeah, I did that last night.
I saw that one though.
Yeah, it's just renaming.
And David Aiden updating some documentation. That's great. Good. Demos. William first.
Okay. So we've been looking at Sipka's Blazing Orchard, and we upgraded his library to RC2 of .NET 5. So we got that updated. And last week I was going to show an OpenID Connect using a Blazor application with CRUD, but I thought this might be better because we got this working today. So we implemented OIDC in the Blazing Orchard library here, and I have an example here. So we also created a recipe here. Oh, let me share my screen first. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so we created a recipe for the Blazing Orchard that kind of puts a minimal viable product together. So we have like a home page, a blog, a counter, about, content, search, and then we have like login and such. And then we also put all the parameters in for the OpenID Connect settings and that. So it's easy for someone to actually run the application and get Sipka's library working. So before you had to do this all by hand. So now it's all done through a recipe here. And I don't know if you're interested in seeing the recipe, what I did in the OpenID Connect or not, but it's
no, just focus. We'll see if we have more time to go in details. And so just to confirm, this is the client stuff that Sipka did, right? The Orchard running in WASM.
So here I created a Blazor OpenID Connect application, and then I also included the Blazing Orchard library here. And so you notice here in the configuration, I haven't, I guess I can make this bigger.
Please.
Yeah. So here I have the Orchard server, basically telling where that's located, and then all the OpenID connect. So the authorization is pointing to the Orchard server, and then I have the client ID, and we're using Pixie, and then our default scopes here, and then our metadata address, where the location where the OpenID can get all the information, configuration. We have the redirect URL, the post logout redirect URI, and also the response type, which is authorization code flow. So let's go ahead and run it. So you notice the server is running here. So we'll go ahead and run this here. Okay, so now you can see that here's SIPS's demo here with a home, and there's a blog, a counter, and so you can do the counter stuff that he did, information, and then contact information, and then search. So these aren't implemented first, but what we do have now is we can log in through Orchard Core using OpenID Connect. So we have a login button up here. We can go ahead and click that, and we get redirected back to the server URL. And so we can go ahead and log in. And click on OK. Then you notice we get the authorization for the code flow. It says, do you want to grant authorization code flow access to your data? Scopes requested, OpenID, profile, and API. And I can say, OK, yes. And then we're redirected back to the application. And then you can see here we're authenticated, and it says hello sales and that. So, and then if you want, you can put some custom authentication pages that are guarded, whatever, for you to do that. Or you can actually use the access token now to use the content ID APIs, or even the GraphiQL APIs if you want. And then if you want, you can just go ahead and we'll go ahead and log out. So we click the log out, we're redirected back to the server, and then we just say yes. And then we're back to our client application. So that's it.
Thank you. And so you use Sipka's application just for fun because that's more fun than just an standard app.
Yeah, I can show you the other application if you want to.
So the other application being just
CRUD. It's a CRUD application.
Yeah, one value band. That's okay. I mean, that's the same thing. But just to say that that works with any BlazorWASM application.
Right. So yeah. So I did create OIDC Connect with Orchard Core for Angular and React, and also Vue.js, and then Blazor. So I have all 4 applications working with the Orchard Core.
I see samples. Yeah. So it would be interesting to. I'm sure you. Well, I hope I will ask you. Do you have articles for these, like to repro that, to connect to Orchard OpenID?
Yeah, I got blog posts and I have videos on how to do that.
Already set up online?
Yep, it's online.
Okay.
Yep.
So please share the links on the chat, and I'll try to forward that somewhere.
Okay, sure.
Or if you tweet, I can also retweet you with the links to the articles to show that.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
And the videos. Okay, great. That's awesome. Because I'm sure lots of people ask, okay, now
yeah,
I want to
update our documentation too, because there's a lot of things that are missing in the documentation, so we can probably do that as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Also, like tutorials, guides to show how to connect that, to do that, the code flow, the client flows and everything. That would be great. Awesome. Thanks a lot. What else do we have? Dean, probably. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, sure. This is just coming back on an old PR, so hopefully it still works from a while ago. Just to look back at.
Why does your screen look so good?
Crop flickers. Because Jasmine keeps making it better.
Is it because it's a Mac? Jasmine, it looks better on his screen than my screen, or
Maybe the fonts are better on a Mac, but no, it's
bigger?
supposed to be. No, it's the same.
The font is bigger.
Yeah. I think the fonts are polished or something like that from the OS. I'm not sure. Maybe it's something for within the OS that just polish the pixels of the fonts. I'm not sure.
Make a PR to polish the pixels.
You have to you'll have to move to a Mac there, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I think.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, it's lovely designing on one, but it gets tricky because you write UI, which is really nice and pretty, and then you look at it on a Windows machine, and you're like, hang on a second here. Need to rework it a little bit. But a lot of it comes down to fonts and anti-aliasing and how they're handled.
Yeah,
just because the two OSs handle them differently. So we looked at this PR a little while ago, which is just a feature to set centers on. So they're cropping centers. So in this particular one, the y-axis is relevant because of the way the image is resized at the other end of things. So you have the ability to move it. Oh, didn't we do the preview last time? I think we did the preview last time. Let's do that.
I'm sure I said that last time, but I want to see. But that doesn't work anymore.
No, because I changed the theme. I've been not set up properly here.
Because I would expect when you click on the image, live on the left, you see the cropping.
Wrong image.
And everyone noticed that there is a nice edit blog button. That is new from last week. We talked about it.
We did. That's the one there. So hopefully this will actually work this time.
It's beautiful. It's great.
So we get to move it around in different places. Probably the point I wanted to make is that it's not going to do anything on the x-axis because of the way this is sized. So you're really only you're setting one. But the big change I just made was to. Sorry, does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm saying for the next big change, I think I know what it is, because the issue you have when you click multiple times
is the problem of the disk filling factor.
Right.
So I've added the encryption settings if they are there. No, they're not. I need to turn them on. Why is that not on?
So you see the URL here. You didn't see, but not you, but everyone else. The URL is like ampersand crop equals, and you have some XY what's the name? Coordinates in the URL, which means every time you get a new value, you have a new image, a new file, and you can overflow the size of on the disk if someone creates a bot and generates all the images for all the locations of the center. So the solution will be demo.
I've just forgotten what the a bad demo because I've not set up correctly.
You have documentation. That's okay. You can just copy paste from documentation.
Use tokenized query string. So that should probably do it. Okay, so what we're basically doing is when we generate the, where's the best one to look at? Probably the filters and the resize URL filter. When we build the query string, we have an option to now encrypt it. And when the query string is encrypted, it's just using the data protection, which is all cached, so we don't have to actually do the encryption too much, which happens here. And I'll just restart that so we can see that in a second. And then when we actually pass the commands in image sharp, we look at it. If it's got a token, which is the token for all of the commands, then it sets it gets those commands out and sets the command parser to accept what's been unencrypted. Let me see if that's going to work this time around. Right, so what we get now, instead of what you would have seen before, which was the height, width, and all the crop pictures in the URL, we just get a token. So that becomes safe, because if we were to pass any other value, it's not going to be decrypted correctly, and it will just no-op the resize provider, and you'll just get the full-size image coming out, which is just kind of prevents that disk filling issue. I think there was a nice blog from Bertrand. It was a few years ago now, a couple of years ago now, kind of discussing the issues of around that, and how it's potentially possible to bring servers down by overfilling their disks. So the questions I kind of have is, sorry.
Do you cache? We talked about it. Do you cache the encryption values in memory?
Yeah, we do. We cache the encrypted values in memory. We actually have two caches. If I look,
we don't have to, because as long as the data processing key is stable, it will be decrypted, and the full token contains the full commands, which is necessary. Otherwise, every time you restart, then you will lose the old references. And caching is interesting here because you will spare something.
Yeah.
And it's safe.
I've got errors from. It's safe. Yeah, so we're maintaining cache, which just saves a little bit of serialization, because this will happen. One of these, this one here happens on every. Both of them happen on every request. So we kind of optimize it a little bit. So if you've got 4 or 5 width and height commands and a couple of crops that are all the same, it's the same cache key that's used.
So I disconnected because I touched my headset and it stopped my meeting, but I'm back and I trust what you said. Thank you. And it's still recording.
Cool. So the question I'll actually have on it is whether or not we should turn this on by default.
That's a good question.
Because
there is lots of pain with the predefined values. Oh, that's also solving the predefined values, by the way. Did you mention that?
So I haven't solved predefined values yet, because that was another kind of topic.
No, but it's solving. Oh, you're not.
It solves it. Let me go and see why it doesn't necessarily solve it completely. So the predefined values that we have by default are these, which are the width and height settings. So with this encryption option, we can actually now allow anything through and just change the predefined values to be the ones that you want to support in the media profiles feature that I added, is kind of my thinking.
Okay, so it solves that. It solves the DOS attack with the predefined values. Well, at least the predefined values, they are like, now they will be allowed values for the media profiles, but at least we can use any value in the resize URLs. Hello, is it me this time or is it? Dean?
I think it's Dean because I don't
Okay.
see him. Yeah.
Okay, that's not me, but it happens exactly the same thing happened to me. Like it froze, I couldn't hear anyone, and then I tapped my headset and I got disconnected. Yeah, so I was saying that we don't need to define predefined values for the media, which was set to prevent people from generating URLs. It had to be based on this value, so it was limiting the number of files that someone could create. Because now to create the file, we can just create, nobody can forge a URL for a custom size anymore. So we don't have to protect it. And the list can just be used for the media profiles to provide a list of predefined values that people can use to do profiles. But same thing, I mean, it's just a hint. Anyone could put any value in the profiles. That's not a big issue. It's just to help people find good values. Question remaining being, do we want this feature on by default? We might. The only decision might be to say, well, we could have it by default and people could just disable it if they don't want it, if they don't like the UIs like this. But in terms of perf, it's free because the keys are, again, limited based on the images, the profiles, and the combinations of cropping sizes that you are using. So even let's say we have 1,000, we'll accept him. So Dean is Dean back. Doesn't work when I accept him. So even if you have 1,000 possible combinations of, or actually used URLs, combination of URLs you are using to render images, then we'll have 1,000 keys and unencrypted keys in memory. So the decoding and encoding, or decrypting and encrypting, should be as quick as a hash lookup. So that's good. I can't accept him. I'm clicking.
I'm back again.
Oh, it's optimal deviation now that he's showing. Okay. So we were saying, Dean, that about enabling it by default. I mentioned the pros and cons, and I think we can because it's free theoretically, minus some memory usage. And also, are you caching for encryption and decryption? Meaning, when you generate the URL, you also don't encrypt the values, you just look up in the table for the encrypted value.
Yeah, it's cached on both sides.
Perfect. So I think we could enable it as a feature, and then if people want to disable it, they can just disable it if they don't like it. And
cool.
then,
I mean, the only concern I had about putting it on by default was that it will change everybody's query strings. So slight change in behavior.
Yes.
But I think that's probably worthwhile to get rid of the pain of the allowed file extensions.
yes, I think so. And you keep the extension?
Yeah, I'll keep the property because it's the one that's going to be used in the media profiles feature. So it's the kind of standard stuff. But it just makes it so much easier for somebody who just needs to get get a button size small or something, or a button image size small, to just be able to provide the exact one that they want.
Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, if you agree with me on that, then I'll make those changes to the PR. The only other question I kind of had was what to call it. I've called it centers at the moment because that's what ImageShark called it. Center.
Center? Is that a word or?
Yeah, center as in CENTER. Right.
Oh, center. Why do you use a British accent?
I use a British accent.
I use a French accent. That's better accent.
Kiwi accent.
So, the cropping thing you mean, or the?
Yeah, because it's not quite cropping because you can't.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Media. Well, what's the name? What's the feature name? The total feature name? Just media center or?
Media centers at the moment.
Okay, I can't think about.
But yeah, no, if that makes sense for anybody, if anybody's got any comments on the naming, put a comment on the PR, please.
And for the media tokenization, you call it tokenizer. I'm not sure I like the name. I will more use something like a URL obfuscation or something like that. That makes more sense. But at the same time, it's a default feature, so nobody will have to look at it and enable it or maybe disable it. That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I need a command in the query string, which is token equals, because I need to be able to pass it. So that's why I call it token, because that's a commonish thing to have in a query string.
I see, like a SAS token.
Like a SAS token or a email reset token.
But the feature itself, and you have a token as in the query string. The feature itself is ready to encrypt the URL, to obfuscate it, just not that token. I don't know. The technical aspect is tokenizing. The logical aspect is really obfuscating.
Yeah. I'll have a think. I don't disagree. It was difficult to name.
Does anyone see anything about this? Because I don't think I've seen that implemented anywhere. We thought about it while thinking about the issues that were, and first we said, let's use a whitelist. But at the same time, this looks so simple. I'm afraid that we are missing some obvious things in terms of security. Because even it could even be by default in image sharp. I don't see why it would not. So
yeah, I'm not sure if because I've worked with image sharp and image processor historically for a while, and it's definitely been a thing that I've been able to do with applications. Is kind of overrun them a bit, but I'm not sure that anybody's really picked up on it as a strong issue. Could be wrong.
Yeah. In terms of distribution, like cloud support, if we have multiple nodes, the data protection key will be the same because you will have to use a data protection key that is shared across your nodes. That's a different issue. And the cache will be per node. So that's fine. Like every node will compute the hash once. The hash.
Yeah, that's how I've kept the
so
caching.
We don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to synchronize the hashes, unless you. Yeah, even if you have like millions of images, I mean, each node will compute that. We might want to add a limit on the table as well. So
I've put 6 hours on the entry, and
yeah, but
it's configurable so that they don't stay in memory for too long.
Okay.
Because if it's an image that actually gets deleted and the server's been up for 3 months, you don't need to be holding on to it.
It's a memory cache, so you put you can put sliding expiration.
Yeah, I think I put 6 hours on, but I'll probably make it configurable.
Okay, good. You don't even need to do that first. I mean, if you have a specific amount of time, I mean, that's okay. Good, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll punt the next demos to next week. The 2 Canadian. We need to move them next week. Sorry, nothing against Canadian. Just happens. Good. Questions, comments? I said we would check the site from Lombiq, shortcode.com, category.
Oh, you can probably share your screen now.
Yeah, maybe I should do that before I click the link. Sorry, thank you.
Sebastian, I have a question.
You can. Should I answer?
Sure. So next month, .NET 5 is going to be out, and I think you guys are going to have 1.0 out. Is it possible we can get some Nuget packages created for .NET 5? Is that possible now, or?
So there is a PR that Antoine made to build targeting .NET 5.0. that works, and Antoine has tested it, and the functional test worked. So the discussion we've had is, and the decision we've made so far, which can still change if there are compelling arguments to change it, is that we need to ship a 1.0 with .NET Core 3.1 at least, because .NET Core 3.1 is LTS, long-term support. And there are some companies that will only install something if it's in a stable state and if it's supported in terms of security, for instance, and critical bugs. If we had to ship with a .NET 5.0 and someone had to deploy a .NET 5.0 application, and for some reason, nobody ever ships another Orchard core targeting .NET 6.0, or I don't know, whatever. So they will be stuck with a 5.0, which is not supported. So that's why I think we need to deploy to release a version that is based on an LTS version of .NET Core, at least. So they have that as a security nest. So we have to ship with .NET Core 3.1 at first. Then, two options. We could also ship at the same time, targeting .NET Core App 3.1 and .NET 5.0, which means on Nuget, there will be a single package like Orchard Core whatever, but with different targets, dependencies, either .NET Core App 3.1 or .NET 5.0. So when from your app, you point to the package, if your app targets .NET Core 3.1, it will pick up the packages for .NET Core 3.1 and same thing for .NET 5.0. So that is a solution. But another option would be to just say we ship 1.0 for .NET 3.1, and then we can ship another version later of Orchard Core targeting the two of them, or just a new one. That's different options. For safety reason, like for safety, like reliability, I don't know, to be sure that we ship in time and we don't have issues testing many things. And also because .NET 5 is super early, even when we ship 1.0, it will still be super early, so there might be some bugs. We might just want to focus on .NET Core App 3.1, like we do today, and switch to the two targets after a while, so that such that the next release, not major release, not the 2.0 release, but like 1.1, 1.2, something like that, of Orchard Core can target the two frameworks if it works and we don't have any issues. So if you're blocked to use a 5.0, a .NET 5.0, then maybe we can, if we think it's necessary, we can just say that once we have shipped 1.0, we can just say, let's now target, let's when ship 1.0 with 3.1, let's target 5.0 and 3.1 on the dev branch, which means that if we have security bugs to fix, we can still target the master branch, the 1.0 branch, just for 3.1 and update it, and continue development on 5.0 and 3.1, or just 5.0. We can drop 3.1 if 5.0 works. That should be fine. But I don't know.
My understanding is that if you've got the app targeting 3.1 like Orchard, but you still want to use the 5 SDKs to build your app, that's going to work.
Oh, definitely
fine.
We can use the 5.0 SDK if we target .NET Core 3.1. But
cool.
But we can't.
I think maybe the thing that is blocking people at the moment is there's one interface that has been removed. So it would be probably quite easy for us to do a small PR with a compiler constant to drop out that that's the HTML localizer.
But here you assume that you let people. So what you say is that let's unblock the source code such that it builds on .NET 5.0 easily. So if someone wants to target 5.0, they can do that with the current dev branch. But we don't ship 5.0 packages.
Yeah, not a shipping thing, just an unblocking thing. And I suspect that might be what's blocking you as well, William.
Well, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to have everything on 5 because of Blazor is more robust under version 5, right? And I've been concentrating on Blazor assembly, WebAssembly.
Yeah, so you see that's different. That's really using ASP.NET Core 5.0, and our packages, they don't target that, they target 3.1. If your code needs to target 5.0 only and not our code, then at least that will unblock you. So, and something I didn't see in the PR, and that seems obvious to me, is like just add a if def on the code, like just to remove it.
Yeah,
like
that was what I was suggesting.
Okay.
I think might do a separate PR to sort that out.
So do that. And at least people will be able to compile with Net 5.0 their own app.
So I have another question. We have all those...
Jasmine first, because he was starting to talk and then he raised his hand. I don't get it.
I was thinking that the Blazing Orchard application that you're using is headless, so you don't really need to have Orchard to use version 5.0, but your application does.
Well, I do have an example where I do have Razor pages with Blazor WebAssembly, so they're both together as a component. So I do have the solution for that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, another question is, we have all these dependencies out there for third party. Are they going to be available for version 5.NET 5 as well?
Yes.
Or how long does it take for them to test for that?
They never target Net Core app. They just target Net Standard. So it's not an issue.
Okay,
it's
great.
just us that target Net Core app because we have a dependency on some ASP.NET APIs that do target Net Core app 3.1, and we have to. There is no way. So, but if you look at OpenID or if you look at Dapper, all my libraries like Liquid, Fluid, SQL, shortcode, and everything is Net Standard. So if your app targets Net 5.0, it won't be an issue. You will be able to use the 5.0 runtimes, and your even I assume Orchard Net Core app 3.1 libraries will work. So
well, I think Kevin's app does target ASP.NET, so that might be a little bit different. The OIDC library that Orchard Core is doing.
Oh, because you referenced, no, you don't reference the Orchard Core package, right? You just referenced his library.
Well, if you look at the OpenID Connect, he does have an ASP.NET interface to one of them. There's a library in the beta version.
OpenID Connect. Where do I find that? Is it a package
here?
The
best way is to look at the dependency. Let's see. I could probably share it. Yeah, if you look at the dependencies.prop file, it shows yeah, here it is right here, this one. If you want, I can show the screen.
OpenID Connect. I don't see Connect. So what dependency? OpenID. I don't see anything.
Is it okay if I share my screen? I can show you.
Yep. Go on.
Let's see. Let's see down here. Yeah, so this right here.
So OpenID.ASP.NET Core. I see.
Yeah, so this one is it would be a concern.
And you get. Yeah, this one targets only Net Core things.
That one's okay.
Well, it might be okay.
Okay, yeah.
The issue is that I don't know. Maybe
William, if you actually if you look at how Kevin's working with his stuff, he's doing exactly what Sebastian is, which is multi-targeting frameworks. So he supports
yes.
Yeah, I
Core
see
3,
that.
Core 2.
He will raise it for sure.
Yeah, I think it's probably something that is not really going to be a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good question, good concern. We have to see what we could miss and the potential issues. And just reason he releases new versions every few days, but yeah, I'm sure when 5.0 is up, this one will target also NetCrab 5.0, so it won't block you. And as I said, maybe you will still be able to point to the NetCrab 3.1 still. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. We can check. We maybe someone should try. Let's do a 5.0 app and reference one of the existing Orchard packages just to see if it fails completely or if it's compatible, and just fails at build, but it doesn't complain that we are referencing NetCrab 3.1. I don't know what will happen. Let's try. And worst case, we'll also, at least you will be able to build from source code. And we can always multi-target if necessary. So it won't be a huge issue. But right now, the PR that Dean said he will do will let us not sure. Let's see if it works. If we can build on 5.0 with this ifdef without changing the TFMs of every package.
Yeah, don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay.
I suspect it might be fine.
We'll test it. So thank you. And the site I mentioned, finitive.com from Lombiq. And I think they added this thing here, developer. I don't remember seeing that. So if you have new sites that you made and you want them to be added there, yeah, okay, they do that. No, developer, they don't put it there. Maybe a new field they added recently. Short, a Lombiq technology. Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday at 9 for Europe. Well, depends where you are in Europe. France, for most European countries, 9. For Dean at 8. Super early, then. I'm not sure you will be ready. And next Tuesday, everyone else. But at the old time, because US switches back to standard time this weekend. So next week, back to the usual time. Okay.
And it'll be voting day that day too, right?
Oh, is that it on Tuesday? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it'll be a fun day. Remember 4 years ago. See you. Bertrand has already voted. I mean, he voted like 2 months ago already. Sure. See you on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.